Hey everybody, it's Bill from the SITREP podcast, SITREP 6. Tonight, I'm going to show you how I paint up miniatures to get them on the tabletop. This is not meant to get you a tutorial on how to paint up to, contest standards or any of those high standards. It's literally how do you throw some paint on a miniature to make it look decent so you can get it on the table playing and get immersed in a game. That's what really it's about. Now, there are people out there who love to paint miniatures and that's their hobby. We want to play games. And I do love painting, and I do love, at some point I will paint a competition level mini, but we wanted to take some minis that we had laying around and get them rated so we could do an evaluation game of Black Powder Red Earth miniature rolls based on the graphic novel. So what we did is I dug out a SITREP miniatures and I painted it up into the similar color scheme that you see a lot of people doing, like the blue jeans and red shirts, or in this case a red sweatshirt, and put it together so we can finish the base on it and get it ready to paint and play. So sit tight, get ready, here we go. Alright guys, we're at the painting table and I have the miniature already primed up. This is one I just had laying around, believe it or not, it's a SITREP miniature. I don't remember which series this is, but we're going to paint it up, for a game of Black Powder Red Earth. So we're going to do blue jeans here, and we'll do some kind of different color shirt. I think in the thing they have red and stuff like that. But so let's go ahead and get started. And I think for the first color, I'm going to try contrast paints for this, and I'm probably going to mix paints, to be honest with you. But the first paint we're going to use, if I can switch this out for you, is we're going to use this contrast Talazar blue. Alright, shake this up real good. I've got my wet palette here all set up, Army Painter wet palette. I really do like that, it's sitting in front of me here. So I'm using the Adepticon series Masters Mark II. Alright. Wet your brush first because it helps the paint flow better on instead of a dry brush. And I'm going to take some of this paint and just put it on my wet palette. And I'm going to go ahead and start painting these pants. Everybody's doing them like blue jeans, so we'll give it a shot. I know they're like cargo pants, BDU type pants, but we're gonna go ahead and try it out as well. Excuse me while I do this. And I'm trying to keep it in the camera frame for you as well. So I've noticed the contrast paints themselves do not seem to care for the wet palette. They spread out and thin out way too much, but that's all right. Let's make sure we get a good layer here. Thin layers, thin layers. And then we're going to go back and weather them like you see others doing. Alright, let's check. Nice thing about this new camera setup is I have a nice screen in front of me so I can see where, and look at how that contrast paint sets into those up right there on the back. Just run it along the line there. And then on this pocket, right there. And looks like I still missed some of that pocket there. All right. Looks good. All right, so we'll let that layer dry. We'll transition into a different color. And everybody's going with this red theme. Blue jeans are like red. I'm going to do a similar scheme. Let me shake this paint up and I'll show you what it is here. So we have yet to play Black Powder Red Earth on this podcast, but I'd be looking for a comparison game. We're going to start doing little, a couple turns of a game to give you guys a sampling and a review. We're not going to do a whole game on camera because, it gets kind of crazy. Sorry for the shake. All right, so I'm using Blood Angels Red. And I'm not going to wet palette it this time. I'm just going to go straight out of the pot. I know you're not supposed to, but, I'll put it on the palette. I just won't use as much right away. So yeah, here's my, move this out of the way. So that's my palette. It's the Army Painter wet palette. Really like it. Works really well. I actually just took the cover off and I haven't used this palette in several weeks. And it was still, the palette paper was still wet. So, yeah. All right. We'll put this Blood Angel Red down. And we'll go from there. He has webbing it on, but we'll touch that up later. Looks like he's got like a sweatshirt on. Like a hoodie. So, we'll go with that. His arm could do some touch up here. Yeah, the hole underneath of the arm there. And see that well. Sorry about it. It's been a while since I've had to do righty left. Right is left, left is right on camera. But yeah, look at the contrast paint on the blue. It really came out nice. We'll let that red dry up. And I might do another layer of blue on him just to deepen those shadows before we highlight. So let me go back over and just throw another layer, a thin coat. As Duncan Rhodes says, 2 thin coats. Oops, don't drop them. All right. I missed it right there. You can see, right? I'm trying to do this backwards, but right there. Yes. Okay. Get in there. All right. That looks good. All right. We'll let that dry up. We'll move on to his helmet. And for the helmet, we're going to use this paint. Contrast Metallarium Green. I'm not sure how green or dark this is, but we'll see. And we're going to go ahead and dab it on his helmet. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it's really thinned, so that's all right. Thinner is better than not. You can always build up layers. Right? You build up those layers. Alright, so we'll let that sit. And let's see, his boots will be black. His holster, if you can see it right there, will be black. Oh, you know what? Yeah, we'll make it black. And then when I finish his face here, you can see his strap on his face. we'll make that black or green. Alright, so that's kind of dried. We'll put another thin layer on there. I'll let that take effect. There we go. We're going to use some pure red from the Air War Paints. And they do already have the mixing ball bearings in them, which is nice. To highlight this sweatshirt, see how it turns out. Total experimentation. And what I'm going to do is highlight. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some of this two paints together, and we'll see how they react. We'll see if contrast paint and war paints, army painter can get together. Now remember, paint's always dry, darker than once you applied them. Alright, we'll let that dry up. We want to diffuse that blue jeans and give it some wear out, right? Yeah, that's pretty dark. I'm going to lighten that up a little bit. Make sure it's damp. Get some there. And I'm trying to do the highlights. Here we go. And we begin. And I'm just looking at wear zones that normally in jeans, you know, the high friction points, knees, inner thighs, and buttocks. As you can see, it's starting to come out. I'm just going to let that sit a second, and then I'm going to go ahead and do another layer. So I think where I'm at with the jeans, as you can see, it's pretty highlighted there. So I am going to actually go with just a little bit more of the pure, what's this one? What was it called? The Contrast Apothecary White. It's really a light gray, but it will do the job I need it to do. Really, because I'm going to do a wash here in a second, so I need to tone this down. I want to thin those knees out a lot. I'm going to let that dry because that's pretty heavy there, so see how heavy that is. Now we're going to do something here in a second that's going to fix that. Blend it together nicely. I have some Mars Red, and we're going to use that to highlight even more on the jacket, and then we'll blend that together. We're going to use that, and I'm going to switch brushes, guys. I'm going to go from a 1 to a 0. And it's a 0. Okay. And anyway, my brush, let's get it nice and wet and damp. Not soaking, just wet. And put in the paint. And I really want to highlight. So we're going to use blue tone. We'll let that dry. And if I have to, I do have another color. I can even lighten it up more if I feel like it needs to be lighter. We're going to use a little green tone on the helmet. All right, I'll let that dry up. All right, so let's go to work on his web gear. This is where contrast paint is really not my friend. It's too thin for what I need it to do right here. So we're gonna go to Venom Worm. Yeah, that contrast red did not come out the way I wanted on these sweatshirts. I'm not terribly happy with that color, but it's all right. We'll make it work. Not a problem. Sorry, guys. You can see right here is the under the front part of the carrier. Lighten that up a little bit. And we're just gonna dab that up on the edges. We're gonna use Black Templar contrast. You could go with tan boots, since most people, you know, like armies these days do like tan suede or something like that, but I'm a traditionalist. We're just gonna go black. Make it easy. I don't worry about the shoes too much, because a lot of times, you know, when you do terrain and stuff. Let's go ahead and paint his face. Believe it or not, we're gonna use this Nasdrag yellow. Once you tone it and everything, it actually looks really good. Okay, so we based them. I know it seems really dark. Let's let it dry. I'll close this up, because we're going to now lighten it up with some of this Iraqi sand. And we've got the base down. Let's see if I can get them in the camera for you. Well, come on, show me your face, guy. Holy moly. The thing with flesh tones, sometimes you just gotta be real careful, because they like to chalk up and get thick. And you don't want that to happen, so just take your time, a little bit at a time. And just keep working it in. There you go. Alright, flesh, base, and undercoat are done. Gonna let that dry real good. Let's work on his weapon. Contrast Leviathan Blue. Blue rifle. Let's see. Oh yeah. That is perfect. That is perfect. That is this Contrast Leviathan Blue. Just a piece on the barrel. Looking good. Alright. That was easy cheesy. We're going to highlight that in a second. This Contrast Griff Charger Gray, because it has kind of a greenish tint to it. Bluish greenish tint. And we're going to highlight our web gear with it. Alright. Time to do some flesh work. Now these are meant for just getting them on the tabletop. This is not meant for winning any awards or anything. It's going to look good when it's finished. You get it on the table. So we're going to use a little flesh wash from Army Painter. And flush them up. Sometimes it just doesn't lay down right. I'll let it dry. And let's highlight that rifle. And we're going to go back to this color, this Apothecary White. And I'm just highlighting the bevels. It looks like he's got optic sights on this thing. Okay. There you go. This is just primer. This is stylized primer. And just a few drops is all I need. Gonna highlight. A little too much on the nose there. Hands I'm okay with. Hands look, gotta go on top of his finger though. See, I need a light behind me. I have a light in front of me and to the side. So it makes it hard to see my lighting there. Soft tone. I do not paint eyes, by the way, especially in this scale. It's no sense to it. I mean, if you want, you could take a little bit of extra shade, wash, whatever you're using, non-oil, and throw it in there, but that is it. Alright, so we're going to highlight some stuff with some witch brew, and then we're going to wash the model, and then we'll be done. Really see that green? And we're going to gently apply it. And I'm going to throw a little bit on here. Still don't think it mixed well. Still seems pretty medium heavy. I know it seems really bright, but we'll tone it down. And I got to do the strap. Hard to see that light. Yeah, it needs more. Let's brighten up some more. And then wash this down. It's time for the wash. Now, again, this is not meant to be like some big, I'm not, display model or anything like that. So, we want to get some color on them, highlight them, and then we want to blend it all together. So let me put the zero brush away. I'm going to go to a big brush. I'm going to go to number 3 brush. Okay. Big tip. I got none oil here. And we're going to do the helmet, not the skin, and then the uniform. And bring everything together. Remember, no skin. You don't want it to be muddy. You don't need to do his weapon either unless you feel like you need to bring it into the fold. Remember, you've already used contrast paint, so you technically shouldn't have to do this, but because we use different paints, and I'm trying to tie it all together, and you don't want it to be too muddy, but at the same token, you want to make sure your mini looks well blended together. You could spend a lot of time wet blending and doing layer after layer, but this is meant to show you how a quick and easy method. Just block some colors, put a little color in there, and then shade it up. That's, some people say, "Oh, that's not painting, that's cheating," blah blah blah. Do whatever makes you happy, dudes, right? And it'll come out. So, all right, we'll let him dry, And then we'll be good to go. There you go. That's a Spectre miniature. Painted up in a black powder red earth type, sorry guys, scenario or outfit looking contractor. And you can see we weathered his blue jeans. We aged his gun a little bit, or reflected it. Did some shading on the shirts. And it's ready to go on the table. All I have to do is base them up and let this dry. Got a little puddle right there. Alright, let's see if that's good. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So we'll let that finish drying and we'll be good from there. Alright. We'll see you soon. Take care.